Hey, hello, friends. Welcome to my stream live chat. It's Wednesday night, and I'm going to be talking about what I got to know with the mob, the mafia, Cosa Nostra, organized crime. The first person I met really, it was Fritzi Giovanelli in Ridgewood. They had a social club at San Nicholas Avenue between Myrtle Avenue and Palmetto under the L train. So he's the first guy, that I got to know that he was a May guy from the Genovese crime family. I got to meet him through Stevie Maltese because he owned a food store on Knickerbocker Avenue. Because we had the pizzeria on Myrtle Avenue, so we used to go shopping on Knickerbocker Avenue. So, we used to go to Paul Conti, the butcher. He was also on Knickerbocker Avenue, so we used to go pick up the meat. I used to go with my father at a young age. So anyway, I was living in Glendale, Myrtle Avenue at 68th Street, between 68th Street and 68th Place, across the street from St. Pancras Church. There was a Catholic school. That's where I ended up meeting my love of my life. She was a Sicilian, half Napolitan. So that was a good combination in my eyes because, being on Red Hook, when I first came to America, I was hanging out with the Napolitans, the Sicilian, Barres, Calabrese. So, and I was hanging out in third place with the third place boys. There was a lot of Irish girls, Italian girls. So, but I really wanted an Italian girl because that was my root. So that's who I met first was Fritzi Giovanelli. Then, and once I met the girl of my life, my love of my life, I got to meet Joe Messina and Salvatali. Salvatali was a blood uncle to my wife. Her mother was a sister. Okay, the only reason I keep on repeating that because we get new comments. They got to know where I come from, who I am. So I'm always going to do some recapping in the beginning. For this way, people know who I am, what I'm talking about. I started this 10 years, 2016 is when I made my first book story, A Father's Belief, And before that, the same time, I did it in Italian, which was I Principi di un Padre. This is from my Italian paisan from Carini, Sicily. That's why I did it in English and then I did it in Italian. This was my mother and father, and I'm here leaning on my knees. You could see right there that I was a very cocky kid, confidence, and I didn't fear anything. Then going on the mountain, going on the hills, going by the seashores. I was very, how do you say, love challenges, adventures. So, being said that, Now I'm going to go back to my story about at the age of 20. I bought a lunch wagon because Joe Messina Salvatore were in the business with the lunch wagon. And through there, I met Rusty Rustelli. But at the time, he was in prison. But I got to meet the brothers of Rusty Rustelli. And I became very close to them. Now, with that, I made friends with the people that were running the lunch wagon. There were some of them related to very close relationship to the Rostelli family. This was a DeFeo family, Tommy DeFeo, the senior. He was also involved in the distribution where we used to load up with the lunch wagons. So, and the sons owned the lunch wagon routes. So I became close to them. They were around my age, actually, maybe a couple of years older than me because I was the kid, always in the group. Now I'm the old man. I'm the old guy now. That's what they say. You're an old man. I'm an old man. But at least I got here. Some people didn't get the privilege to get here. And those people that said that to me, I would like to tell them, at least I got here. I don't know if you ever going to get there. So be able to survive all the things, in the street for so many years. And the dealing and associated with those bad people, cutthroats, backstabbers, weasels, schemers. There's so many words. So I am a true, uh, real guy that grew up with this mobsters. And I learned a lot, you know, being acquainted with these people. And I got to know about Joe Bonanno. I got to know about Carlo Gambino because they were from Sicilians from back where I came from, not too far from my town. So I wanted to learn about their history when they came to America, and I wanted to know how they became so powerful, how they became rich, and that was my ambition to follow their footsteps. So then I started learning about the Jews. Once they were the supreme with this Italian syndicate, Cosa Nostra, from the 30s with Lucky Luciano, so you're starting to want to know the history. So I began to study the mafia, the people. So the main people that I got to like the stories was Joe Bonanno, because he had a lot of story to tell, that he went through wars, from the beginning when he first came in before the 30s, and moving forward to the 50s, the war he had. So there was a lot of history regarding about Joe Bonanno. And I tried to learn things about Carlo Gambino too. But there wasn't really not much there, that I could absorb from his story. The only thing, the Appalachian, meeting, that he was very close to Vito Genovese, and then now to, he got into power, how he made his name as the the Gambino crime family, and yes, Joe Bonanno, Vito Genovese, uh, Lucchese, and one man is Carlo Gambino, which no Carlo Gambino, the Colombo, who was a Serpico was Joe Colombo, because in Red Hook that was their turf, so the Gallo brothers. Anyway, this is how I got to want to learn everything about how could I make money, how could I get in that position, So being hanging around by 50's Club as a with a young age, I seen the gambling, how they dress, the suits and the ties, fancy cars, the pinky rings. Uh, so I was already in business. I had a pizzeria. So then I had the lunch wagon. And I went to the wheel and deal, because I met the Irish kids on Myrtle Avenue. They were stealing goods because we had it behind us in Glendale. There was a railroad uh, train station that they would stop there to unload. So it was like, the airport. There was a lot of things that could be stolen from the trains, cargoes. So I began, wheeling and dealing. Got to meet friends, my age, and everything I was getting, I will give it to this guy Joe Leach, that was from Fritz's Club, an old timer, goes back to the Luciano times, um, and I became hooked with that, with that intention. Now, when I'm in the lunch wagon, I got to being friends with the Fair brothers, especially Tommy DeFeo. We became very close, and he was a gambler. Most of the guys were gamblers. So, and he told me about, if I wanted to go to this place in Maspet, to play blackjack, that it was owned by this old guy. I still can think of his name. I've been trying to think of his name, but I don't know, some kind of like Jeffrey. He was old guy, my age, maybe a little younger, and he was hooked up with, friends with Peter Gotti and Gene Gotti, and at the time, I think John Gotti was in prison. That he was coming home soon. So as time went by, I got to gamble with him. I got to meet them. They look at me like young Sicilian, because they were not Sicilian. None of them were Sicilian. They were Napolitans. So they got a kick out of me because I wanted to be with them. I wanted to gamble with them, But I was, what do you call it? Not known, who I was, who I belonged to. The only thing they knew, Tommy, the fail. They came from the easy load where we used to load up. So we became, friends. I gambled against them. That what they played the game was, It was a blackjack, but it wasn't a table like a blackjack table. It was a round table like a poker table with the shoe, and in other words, the dealer would be the banker. So you would put up a say $1,000 bank, and he would deal the cards. It would be like, eight guys playing, and the dealer would be the ninth guy, and you play blackjack. You could bet from $5 to $100. You know, there were wise guys, so they have money to blow. For me, it was a little stiff at that time in the 70s, but I wanted to be with them. So I got involved playing with them. So in other words, if you get a blackjack, not only you get a choice to take the bank and you become the banker and you deal the game. It was a very exciting game. And I didn't get to take the bank because I couldn't afford to put up $1,000 bank. I was with heavy hitters. So, if I took the bank and they stopped betting, $100 a hand, how am I going to cover that? So I would just pass the shoe. So anyway, as time went on, we became friends. And I got to invite when John Gotti came home. I ended up going to his club on Liberty Avenue, the fishing club, whatever they called it, and I would play there. So now I'm bouncing from Maspeth to Ozone Park and Ridgewood. And Joe Messina was not going to those places gambling. I didn't understand why, he wanted to be with them, but he wasn't doing it. I don't know. There was a reason. I don't know, but I never seen him, gambling those spots. And when I used to ask if he was known, in Ridgewood, especially in Fritz's club, nobody knew anything about him. They didn't know nothing. But with John Gotti, they knew, of John Messina. I never told him he was my uncle. I never, we were talking about, the lunch wagon, Rossi Rostelli knew, the guys, Tommy DeFeo's brothers. So that's how I mingle with them, being associated with the Fail brothers, and because of Rossi Rostelli brothers had this place Easy Low. So, and that's how I mingle in. And now I want to talk about Joe Bonanno. I want to talk about Joe Bonanno because he was to me an idol. Like the type of man he was. He came from the tradition, roots from Sicily. And at the time, they were not talking about that he was into heroin dealing, and this was the 70s, so all the way through the 70s, I didn't hear nothing because Joe Bonanno left for Arizona, I think, in 1969, just about when I started, in Glendale. So everything you hear say, everybody talks about stories, but nobody ever talked about, Joe Bonanno being involved with this heroin. He was heroin heroin dealer. No, he was a boss. He was a businessman. He owned. I heard he owned the mozzarella company in Wisconsin, Grande. I heard he owned some government center in Manhattan. So, I didn't heard about him being a drug dealer, like a heroin. I never heard it till I think Valachi came in and talked about, but he talked about Vito Genovese, he talked about Carmen Galanti. I never heard anybody mention Joe Bonanno was involved in heroin dealing. So I didn't look at him that way. Never heard of it, so I didn't look at him that way. But now, just followed up to today, in the year 2026, from the past few years, when I started getting involved, write my books and try to, tell my story, and they start mentioning, because I was mentioning Joe Bonanno, they would say he's a drug dealer, he's a heroin dealer, he's a this, a that. And I was like, shocked that people would disgrace him that way. But I never heard it. I never, nobody ever said anything. Even Joe Messino hate him so much, because the word was out, much later when, Joe Bonanno wrote the book in 1983. But I know about the story of Bill Bonanno because he wrote the book they call Honor Thy Father, which came out in 1971. It was written by a journalist. I can't think of the name right now. Anyway, fucking names don't mean nothing to me. It means the book was out in 1971. Okay, it talked about the war they had in the 50s, the 60s. The what do you call it, the Bonanno War. So, and he told his story how they got a problem with the Carlo Gambino, Lucchese, Mayocco, all the fucking names came out. So he had the book, and nobody did nothing to Bill Bonanno for writing the book. Why? In my head, I feel maybe Joe Bonanno is very powerful. They wouldn't dare to touch, Bill Bonanno because he did write autobiography like. Well, Tellis, his name was Tellis. That I don't remember. I don't know the whole name. John Tellis, something like that. If anybody knows, could help me out. So, they say nobody's supposed to write no books, nobody. But then going back to Luciano in the late 60s, he was trying to write his biography. It's a memoir when he was in Naples. He had the guy who's going to write, and then he got a heart attack and died. So when they say you don't supposed to write books, you don't supposed to tell your fucking story, who's these guys that's doing that? This podcaster of today? All this, what do you call it? Not knowing anything? And yes, I think that Joe Bonanno was so powerful, even in the 80s, in 1980s. And Paul Castellano was alive still. Neil Della Croce was alive. Um, Camilo Galante got killed. He got killed in what, 79? Uh, he wrote his biography. He didn't give a fuck about the commission. He didn't give a fuck about nobody. And he did it. And then the word started coming out about Joe Bonanno being a rat, a drug dealer. All this shit started, floated from all this, newcomers. Like Joe Messina was a big on that. I used to always tell him, how could you fucking say that when the guy is an original from back then and he was a boss for 35 years and Buster Rastelli still took his head off when it came down to Joe Bonanno because they would attack him, you know, that he wrote the book and they were like wanted him to do something about it, for running the book. And Rusty was like, because he was home at that time during the 80s. And he's just like, stay out of the fucking mind, you know? So apparently I took that Joe Bonanno still hold power in New York from back then. And then I think after he wrote it, I think he didn't want nothing to do no more because he was over in his head. And that's why he wrote his biography. And that's why he went on 60 Minutes. He didn't give a shit. He wanted to tell his story. He wanted to tell his story too. The Godfather movie was based on his life. They took parts from the different bosses. Uh, so and that's how we did. That's how I looked at him. But now, in the year 2000s, whatever, 2016, 2000, everything, they made movies and Joe Bonanno he created a pipeline to Canada, all this, heroin dealing. And I mean, the feds wanted him so bad. They wanted to bust him in the worst way. Even Giuliani wanted to bust him, because it would have been a trophy, put Joe Bonanno in prison. So that didn't come out. I mean, nobody came out and prove anything that he was dealing heroin. So I just thought, yeah, Gate, yes, Johnny, yes, Gate Tallahassee, yes, he wrote the book in 71. So when this forbidden writing books, why didn't do something to Bill Bonanno? Bill Bonanno at the time he was just a soldier, and then he became a capo. Just don't know. It was the son of Don Giuseppe Bonanno. So why didn't do anything? If Carlo Gambino was so fucking powerful and Lucchese and everything, they had every right to do something about it. If it was forbidden to write books, so Thy Father was written by Salvatore Bill Bonanno and Getala. That's right. That's right, Johnny. That's right. So why didn't do nothing about it? I mean, that alone should tell you how much power the man had. He had Sicily, an army. He had an army in Canada. He had an army in Arizona. I mean, Carlo Gambino is made out of blood. Everybody's made out of blood. He could have brought an army and fight a war. He already has done wars in the 30s, in the 50s, in the 60s. So he's been in the wars. So how could you call Joe Bonanno a rat and a heroin dealer? And he died to be 97 years old. He probably felt bad. He had to bury his own kids, you know. That he lived that long, all his sons died. So anyway, that's my story about Joe Bonanno. Now, Maya Lasky, he was a genius in math. He was smart. You know, he got involved with the Italians, but mostly still with his Jews, his Jew brothers. You know, and he got involved with hotels, which there's a lot of them in Miami that he opened. He opened hotels in Cuba, uh, casinos. That was my dream about owning a casino. So that's why I was like learning how he did it. You know, I got involved with lawyers, accountants, politicians, leaders, you know. So he was a guy that I admire. And in the beginning, when I was so close to Joe Messino, you know, and Savatali at dinner table when we used to have Sunday dinner, we used to talk about, you know, things like that. And there was mention about, you know, that a lot of the bosses are dealing in heroin, you know, they don't give a shit, you know, because as long as you're making money and you give a big envelope to the boss, he's going to look the other way. And there was, what do you call it, bosses that they had already had the chosen people to deal heroin that they didn't want nobody to get involved. Like, you know, Carlo Gambino put a law that if anybody gets involved with heroin, he's going to kill him. And Paul Castellano followed that rule. Now, when they talk about heroin pipeline from Sicily to America, there's a lot of named Gambino that were involved with the heroin, with their cousins, with nephews, or whatever the fuck they were. There's the story about the Gambino. They had a name for them. I don't know. I don't know. If anybody remember the name, they were spraying this heroin all over the country. You know, the brothers, the Gambino brothers, Carlo, Joe. Uh, so there was a name Gambino dealing with heroin. So, but nobody accuses Carlo Gambino of being involved with heroin. But Joe Bonanno never got, he got nobody named. The only one he's got was Carmine Galenti. Carmine Galenti. Yeah, he was involved with fucking heroin when he was a street guy. And he got busted and he was a hoodlum, you know, a renegade. And he was in prison in the now, and he did hits. Yes, he did hits for the Bonanno family. So you know, he was a Castellamarese. So, but he also worked alongside Vito Genovese, you know, with heroin. But yeah, they never mentioned fucking Vito Genovese. They mentioned always Joe Bonanno. He was the biggest. He was this. So I just wanted to bring it out. So now I'm gonna go back to John Gotti. What kind of guy John Gotti was? John Gotti was a guy, a tough guy. He believed in La Cosa Nostra. He really believed it. He wasn't a mafia, Cosa Nostra. And he believed in our thing. And he handled himself honorably. He never disrespected anybody. He didn't disrespect me, even though I was a zip, a Sicilian. That time they would use a greaseball, guinea. He liked me because the way the kind of guy I was. I had balls. And to be with them, gamble with them, you know, and never mentioned Joe Messino that I was related to fucking Joe Messino. Never mentioned it. 2 years later, because he started getting close to Joe Messino, so he came to a lot of the wakes, a lot of family parties, and but that was down the road. But at that time, he was welcoming in. He liked me, and one time we played cards. I tell you the story that is in my book. Making my bones. It was supposed to be within the mafia. See, that's the misspelling. And and then they make a big deal because this is about the book. So if you could see here, I don't know if you could see it, Giacomo Amat. When I did it myself because I wanted to publish it myself, I missed the O. So that's the best spelling. So over here was supposed to be within the mafia. That's a misspelling. Over here, John Gotti, we used to call him Johnny Boy. His friends called him Johnny Boy. So I had a friend in Red Oak in the '60s, the son of an ex-vet, during the World War II. It was John Senior, and his son. They called him Johnny Boy. That which we became friends. So I call him Johnny Boy. So in the story, I'm talking maybe my accent because everybody fucking translates it different. I'm talking about Johnny Boy. And then in the book it says Johnny Boy. So this person that gave me bad review on my book says that Johnny Gotti was not made in '65. So she translates, that Johnny Boy from the deli, young friend, he was a Johnny Boy from Ozone Park. So all this shit. Anyway, so I'm getting a lot of people talking, which I haven't had a chance. But this is the whole thing I want to create. I want to create where we could talk about all these things that I'm saying about the real mafia guys. And I was alongside them that I grew up and I was doing my own thing with the Irish kids. They made fun of that too. The Irish boys. They were fucking Irish all over the place. Was in that Hull Kitchen Irish? They're in the story. They were hooked up with the Gambino, right? The Irish guys. Burke was in Ozone Park. He was Irish. So when I talk about my Irish friends, the Irish bad boys, I give them the name. We gave them the name Irish bad boy because they were fucking terrorizing Myrtle Avenue in Glendale. When we put a stop on that, the stories in the book, what we had to do. to teach him a lesson. We didn't kill him. Killing is not very hard to do, but then you're gonna pay consequences. So the best thing is to do really scare the life out of them, take the breath out of them, to where they see death for the moment, and then you remind them that next time it's not just me. You come after me. These people already know you. So anything happens or anything you do, they're gonna come back and finish the job on you. Then they learn a lesson. Then they will know not to fuck with you, even though these guys thinks they tough guys. So anyway, that was the way we brought up. You know, life is precious. And if somebody's really bad, you got to teach them. Teach them who you are, what you're made of. And that's what I want to talk about. That's what I want to bring out. So I'm going to leave it at this right now. I want to see some of the people talking here, and I want to talk. This was just starting out, so I want to get my podcast with you guys, not go talking to a jerk off. Doesn't know anything. Okay. Hello, Carmela. Just say hello to Carmela. Thank you for coming. Johnny Catalana, Sabenerica. Likewise, Sabenerica. There are a lot of people don't understand what it means. Sabenerica it's a word, it's respect. In Sicilian language, Sabenerica is said when you take your hat off and you say salute to a friend, as a respect. So that's what it means. A Sabenerica, for those people who don't understand the language. That's what Johnny's saying. In the Sicilian language, it's Sabenerica, it's like blessing to you. Okay. Now, Carmela saying the Italians and Sicilians knew how to rig a business to make millions. Incredibly talented if you knew to get out in time. That's right, Carmela. Yes. That's what most of the people do. You got to know when to get out. You can't just stay in forever and you're going to get away with it. No, it don't happen. So you got to take steps back and back off. And there's a lot of people don't do that. They get greedy and they want more and they want more. So now I got Johnny Cardona. Okay. Now we got an Italian Edwin Jimmy Doriotto, Don Giacomo. I never became a Don, but thank you for calling me Don Giacomo. I think I deserve some kind of respect for surviving. I think I deserve some kind of knowledge that I met all these guys, John Gotti, Gene Gotti, Peter Gotti. I mean, talking about that side of the fence. And I met the Carrazzo brothers, from East New York. And I became friends with them, play cards with them, did business with them based on what I had in my hands. At that time I was a young Turk, working my way up. They knew I owned a pizzeria. They knew I owned a coffee truck. They knew I ran poker games. So I was not a slouch. wasn't like just a kid with making coffee, espresso, So I deserve some kind of acknowledgement. So thank you, Edwin G. Jimenez, 3802. Benedizione, go forward. Let no one discourage you. No one. Amen. Have a great telecast. Thank you. I'm doing that. I'm going to continue doing that. Nobody, special, what do you call it? Uh, Crumbs. They call them crumbs. Going to stop me from doing crumbs. Yeah, that's some people use they're making a word out of it. Crumb. You're a crumb. You're a crumb. Okay, whatever. All these guys are podcasters. They're all crumbs. They're nothing. They don't know anything about the life. They never were in it. They don't know nothing. So they only go based on what they read about Joe Pesci and guys like him that come out in New York Times or outside the other part of the countries and newspapers, and then they want a story that they have connection. They even said they got a what do you call information from organized crime forces, like police officers, FBI, CIA. They come up with so much shit, and it's all bullshit. But people take it in and they listen to it. Carmela's asking me, how long did you have a launch wagon? I had a launch wagon not even a year when I got shot. They want me out of the way. When I had the launch wagon. It happened in 1974. So I got in the launch wagon, just after I got married because my wife was pregnant. We came back from the honeymoon from the Bahamas. So I told my brother-in-law because we had a pizzeria. I sold him a half share for my so of the money I got, I bought the launch wagon. I was in the business, I think maybe 5, 6 months. I got shot, but then I kept the launch wagon. But I had dreams, replay nightmares that I wanted to get out of because I had a driver that worked for me, and he wasn't bringing me no money, because he was under the protection of Joe Messino and Salvatali. So they were telling him, fuck him, Don't worry, just give him $20 a week. 20. So uh, and Carmela, I had a heel. I had a colostomy. I was all caught up. So I couldn't work no job. I couldn't work in a pizzeria. I couldn't games. I was out of business. So it took me 2 years to heal, to get back. Then I went to work construction with my brothers, in Manhattan with this Valletta construction company, just to get out of the neighborhood, get my thoughts, what I needed to do. I want the revenge. I want to, you know, get revenge. I wanted to fucking get even. I wanted to go after the people that, were involved. And then I wanted to make money too, because I had a wife and I had a baby boy. So that's when I had to be careful because, it's easy. You got a gun. I had guns. I mean, it was no problem having a gun and go shoot the person or whatever. I mean, I was the type of guy that I would come in the fucking club and shoot 3 guys. I won't care. I mean, but that's, how do you say, foolish, doing things like that. You got to remember that I had a wife and a son, and I had, Don Nino. He was Don Nino. My father. He was Don Nino Leno. And I don't want my father involved in this conflict with this American guys. I mean, people could die. My brothers could have got killed too. So I wasn't gonna, go. I wanted to be wise. I wanted to be smart, and that's why I went to construction. So in construction, I worked 2 years, and then I came back in Glendale, and I started my venture with the Bear Irish Boys. That was my titles I gave them. That was them, the Bear Irish Boy. I called them by names, Billy the Kid, Jimmy the Scratcher, because I had a fight with Jimmy. He fucking scratched my whole fucking neck. He bite too when he fights. So, that was my friends. So I came back with them. And okay. So then Johnny Catan, my old friend Girolamo Santucci had a funny story about Carlo Gambino when they were young. Called Carlo Peruto. Cheese for I think he was a joking or not. Globe pass around 80 I don't know. I'm sure we all had nicknames. Okay, so Johnny also, did Joe Bonanno rat? No, he didn't rat. That's what I'm saying. Camella, he didn't rat. Never forget about it. I don't even want to talk about it. There's no history of him being a rat. He went to prison for contempt that he didn't testify. When Giuliani wanted to bring him in court, being the what do you call it, the commission case, you know, afterwards, because he was still digging the fucking Giuliani, you know, Giuliani. I never thought he was a good guy from the start, and we see what happened now. Uh, Heavy dog has his day. Sooner or later, you're gonna pay your piper. And fucking Giuliano, what's his fucking first name? I forgot. See, maybe I'm losing. Giuliani. You see what happened to him? He tried to be something with Donald Trump. There's another story. And Donald Trump, he was going to do this, he was going to do that, and he got so fucked up that he lost his fortune. Giuliani, and he put Joe Bonanno in prison for a year for contempt because he didn't want to testify. Whatever. He could have took the fifth. He could have took the fifth. He could have went like all the other guys do. I take the fifth because you incriminate me, all that bullshit. No. He said, fuck you. He slammed the door in his face and then fucking put him in jail for an old man. He was old. So he was no rat. There's nobody's got a record for him being a rat. People just create names. And the same thing they say that Joe Bonanno ran the drug, what about the heroin drugs from Sicily to Canada and back to uh, New York. Bullshit. Okay. Now, we go Catalan again. Bobby Doe, they call GI. I met with Tony Volpe in Cincinnati. Used to come to Billy Grazzo restaurant, hang out in a Volpe card game. You're talking about Volpe from the 30s, from the 20s? No, you're talking about different guys. See? You mentioned Volpe. That's what I mentioned about Johnny Boy. And they used that I said this. And then another guy, I was talking They say he was a heroin dealer, you know. So I said in 1983 something about the book, the story, you know, nothing happened. Carlo Gambino was still alive, but I was talking the story that Joe Bonanno went in 60 Minutes. He came out with his book, and he's well, Carlo Gambino was not alive. He died in 76. I never said that. And then I turned around, it was a Bill Bonanno wrote the book in 71, you know, Honor Thy Father. See, they take some things you say and they want to turn it into the way they understand it and they want to put a stamp on it. So, you know, it's a matter of names. The names are so Johnny, if you Volpe, is that the Volpe from the 20s, or this is the Tony Volpe, the new guy of the 80s? So that's what I'm saying. You know, people take it different way. Okay, so all right. So now, did you read it? Gee, I read all. I read. I learned. That's how I could speak now. I could read a little bit. I learned how to write. I didn't know. I educated myself. I didn't learn in school. In school, I didn't learn nothing. The only thing I was doing was getting fights every day in school. I didn't learn nothing. I learned on my own by getting books and reading. I started really with the book because I had to get it for Rusty Rastelli, Nicola Machiavelli, The Prince, the book, The Prince. And that's how Rusty Rastelli was able to hold power, you know, because he educated himself too in prison. He read books, you know, he read the Roman Empire. He read Nicholas Machiavelli. He read the book The Japanese Warrior. What was his name? So I used to go fetch those books for Rusty's Rastelli. So I wanted to read them too. You know, it might take me an hour to read a sentence and reread it to understand it, but I did it. What else I got to do? You know, so that's what I did. So now, uh, on air just keep in mind it's an old and it didn't have a big budget. Okay. Oh, you mean the movie with Thy Father, Honor Thy Father? Yeah, it's a good story. It shows all the things that he had to go through. Bill Bonanno, you know, it was a good story, and nobody talks about that. They only trash the Bonanno family. He was the only family that survived for fucking 100 years, you could say, from the 1900s to the 2000s. And his name is still bears his name, the Bonanno. No other family held that name so long in the five family. Nobody. So you guys could decide yourself what I'm talking about. Okay. So you mean the Cherry Hill Gambino. Right. Yeah, the Cherry Hill Gambinos, right. They were related to fucking Carlo Gambino family. Yeah, Rosario Giuseppe. Yes, that's right. So there's a name there, but nobody fucking want to touch the Gambino. and they had a rule, no heroin. That's why they wanted to kill Gin Gotti, Angelo Ruggiero, Big Mouth there. They wanted to kill him. And the only one who saved them was Neil Della Croce, because Neil Della Croce was blood related to Angelo Ruggiero. If anybody knows that, I don't know if nobody knows. So he wasn't trying to protect John Gotti. I mean, he liked John Gotti, but he wasn't going to go the bad. He was trying to protect Angelo Ruggiero, you know? And that's why he stole. They stole, and they went against Paul Castellano. Paul Castellano, it was not how do you say, a bad guy. He was a money maker. He made a lot of money. He was involved in all kinds of business. He made fucking Carlo Gambino rich. Carlo Gambino didn't have the brain to make money with the what do you call with the government district, the trucks. They all went on the truck business because it's the bulllegging. But they all got involved with the trucks. Okay, so yes, crumb bum, yeah, crumb bum lefenala, yeah. Some people use that on a show. They call me Grumpum too, whatever. But I don't want. They're nothing. There's no even reason to mention them anymore. I blocked them. They can't come in, and whatever they're trying to do, try to degrade me. With all this podcast guys, they all looked up, and they're gonna come out with shit and say things. Go ahead, more power. I'm gonna be here talking to you guys. I've been inviting people for my Facebook and Instagram, to come. I don't see them. So I don't know. Maybe they don't want no drama. They don't want to get involved. So now we got Johnny Catalan again. Those Irish guys are tough guys, son of a bitch. Yes, they don't think they're like the Sicilians, no different. They just take head and they do what the fuck they want to do, and they shoot first and then ask question later. That's the difference between them and the Sicilian. They just come out and shoot you, or rat you out or do whatever the fuck they need to do to get even. They don't back down. So that's the Irish. Okay. Then we got the reason Santucci called Gambino Caccio period. It's a fart. Cheese fart, right? Was when they were young, they were roommate. Said the roommate stank. Roommate where? What did they do with roommate? What did they work? In the army? Carlo ordered cheese and meat under his bed, stuck the place off. I don't know. They were roommates where? Okay. All right. I guess I caught up everybody. Giuliani's disgusting, Carmela said. Yeah, he was. Yeah, Rudy Giacomo. Okay. Johnny Catalano. I'm trying to remember the name of it. They made a slightly better movie about Bonanno than Anna, the father. The only one that Joe Bonanno did was The Man of Honor. That's what you're talking about, Johnny? The Man of Honor? With, I think even Gay Tatlas wrote the book for Joe Bonanno. Is that the book you're talking about? because I don't remember any other book besides that one. So anyway, the difference between yes, yes, he called the youngest Godfather. Yes, that was yeah, from the book Another Father, the book, the whole story. They made the movie, The Young Godfather, the Bonanno story, Joe Bonanno story. They made three movies, three parts. The young, and then middle, three parts they made. Good story, and there's the story there. What he did, what he how he how he kept the families together. You know, they're all there. The five families from the 1930s. So Maranzano, everybody's there. It's still you could get the movie Tubi, Tubi, or on YouTube too. If you put in his name, Joe Bonanno movies, they will show you the parts. You could see the movie. Yes. Okay. Yes, that's the one. It's a three-part. Came out like 25 years back. Yes, maybe before that. Yeah, I think so. Yes, that's it. So if you go on Tubi, Tubi, they show movies. You could go, but they got that the original. Uh, Bonanno, a Godfather story. But if you go to the YouTube, right, and then you search for Joe Bonanno story, Joe Bonanno, the three parts will come up, and you can watch it. Very good. His son Bill Bonanno did the what do you call the production. I think it's the production. He did the setup and how they do it. It's like the Godfather movie, and they didn't make a big deal about it because they hate him. They hate him. So they directed it, they made it, they pick up the actors, they did everything. Very good, and it's still on YouTube. You can watch it. So anyway, I don't see no other questions besides Carmela, and I guess I'm forbidden. the, there's nobody else. Why? There's a guy today test me at 10:04 a.m. His name is Johnny Provolone. Do you see that, Carmela? Johnny, do you see that on the top of my page on the live chat? Or it just doesn't show on your side? And this guy says he's John Provolone with the crown, number one. Jack, just want to say be careful who you trust on your channel. There are people who use fake names and pictures and have been calling out on other channels. They pretend to be female. Do you see that post? That chat? It's right on top of this page. Anybody sees it? Okay, I'm going over that. I can't see it. See? So I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if this guy says something like that. Is he a friend, or he's somebody to let me know that somebody's preventing me to get people on my channel? I don't know, Johnny. What do you think? I don't know. I think you would say that you were bringing people in, right? I think Carmela brought in somebody else too, but I don't see that. So is somebody preventing my channel to get people into my channel? I don't know. So because I'm not seeing nobody else, so what I need to do? I mean, there was other people before. Now it's just, I guess, our street making conversation, right? And then there's Edwin Jimenez, Don Giacomo. Benedizione go forward. Let no one discuss. Okay, he says Edwin Jimenez, 3802. That's why he makes that comment, but he doesn't say anything else. Don Giacomo, Benedizione go forward. Let no one discourage you. And one one amen. Have a great telecast. See, and then he's not here no more. So I don't know. Okay, Johnny's talking. If it is taken talking about Carmela, I can attest she's 110% woman, so it's full of it. I know some of my friends that will be here are busy tonight. Okay, good, good. Okay, that's good. Okay, so but you know, Monday night I made the video, the thing, and I have viewers that let me see. Okay, I got a comment. 1 minute. See, a lot of guys have been making comment on my channel, but let me tell you live 1 minute. Okay. I mean, I make shorts. The less shorts I made, I got. I got after Easter. I got 631 viewers. I don't know. Did you see that one, Johnny? The short. Monday night at 6:45 p.m. We're gonna do a live chat stream. Right, 600 views, viewers, and then the chat I had that night, the live chat. Okay. So this was Monday night. I was a bookmaker. I was a gambler. 323 viewers. With distortionists, violence, things. So I got caught in the wire talking. People watching it, why they're not here? So, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. They watching it, but they don't want to come in the conversation. Why, Johnny? Why, Carmela? Why they don't want to come in? I don't know. So I don't know. I find it strange. They've been invited to come. So who cares? I'm gonna do this anyway. So because the people are watching the what do you call it? My live stream the next day. They keep on watching. It's still growing. I'm up to now. What I said the other night, I had 850, right? Johnny, now I got, so people watching it. So I'm selling books too. at the same time. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I got 932 subscribers now. So they're going up. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So, but right now I'm looking at this. Right now, this one I'm doing tonight. This one I'm doing right now. There's only few views on it. So something is going on. So I don't know what it is, but something's going on. So these guys, a lot of podcasters, I don't know. They want to stop me from growing from live stream. So did I do something wrong? Is it maybe it's my that I did it wrong? How I came live tonight? I don't know because it only shows few viewers. 1 minute. Okay. What do we got? Bobby Dole, they called you. Calling, I don't know. Association, some more. Okay. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I can see it. If he was talking about Jago, don't get too discouraged. Okay, Johnny. Yes, so if he is talking about come on percent, Johnny got yes, I saw it. Jago, don't get discouraged about the of folks in the chat. There are people watching that don't have account to chat with. Don't have an account to chat with. Okay. So some people are cautious because of the store. They are afraid they will be targeted for supporting you. Okay. Yes, I believe that. The store meaning nothing to me. They bully an older man telling the story for what? Fuck them all. Yes. Well, I'm here, so I'm going to be doing it. What I miss is who said I'm a guy. All right, Carmine Provolone says something, I guess, this morning to him, I guess. See if he reads it. Uh-huh. Buck Johnny Provolone months ago. He's a clown. Oh, so he is one of the haters. He belongs to them. I blocked Johnny Provolone a month ago. He's a clown. Okay, see, so this is I guess it's got to be these people from 52 Topic and their crews, and this guy too that came out. Johnny, you know the guy, OC Shorts. OC Shorts. He did an interview again with Francesco Fedolino on Monday, and they did another one today before I came on to show, how much credibility this Francesco Fedolino has. And I've been asking all along, show the things that he did with the Giannini uh, group, the coffee shop, when he got arrested, and they never produced it. But today, OC Shaw put out the headline. What do you call that? When Francesco Feldolino got arrested in 2002 that he was involved robbing a drug dealer, a Spanish guy, and they shot the guy and cut his throat, and then he went to jail in 2002, and they're saying, that's how they get people, break the mob, and because they need people like that to testify, because they gave him, he testified supposedly in 2007 against Joe Messino and Baldo Amato. So, and other guys. He probably testified about other guys to his friends from the Giannini crew, and they let him out of prison, 3 months served. So they don't say if he pulled the trigger. They said they killed the guy. He did one shot. He didn't die. And then the other guy finished him off by cutting his throat. So they don't say if he, whatever. So he was robbing junkies and they were saying he was making coffee, worked at the coffee shop. So that's why maybe they didn't want to post it for me to see it from 52 Topic. But OC put it out because he's got a grudge against me too, because I blocked him, just to show me that Joe Melino is a gangster, a man of honor. That So do you see what I'm talking about? That's the kind of guys they do. So how many guys used to rob junkies or drug dealers hanging out with junkies? Are they men of honor? So this guy talks about Ridgewood, all the things about this guy did, that guy did, but he never did anything. And he never created any business. He was a coffee shop. He worked making espresso, cappuccino, all his life. Because he's 37 years old when he got out of prison. He went in at the age, I think, 32. In 2002, he was spent 5 years in prison. So I guess then they wanted to get John Messino so bad, or Baldo Amato, that he testified against them. And he's supposed to be a true wise guy. You think that's a wise guy that goes out and rob drug dealers, Spanish guys? And that's all there was in Micabaca Avenue in the 90s. He said it himself in O.C. Short that in the 90s was all Colombian. He says Colombian. The Colombians don't fucking Micabaca. If you told me, Latinos, yes, but I don't think the Colombian. The Colombian were in Jacksonite. That's their turf. They all go there. They don't go no other place. So now, Camilla Provolone is definitely from that pack of rats. Is Chicali Hump. See? Yes. All of them. They all gang it up to try to discredit me because I'm new. I'm telling the stories about real mobsters, from back when they were nothing. John Gotti was nothing. He was not even made then. Joe Messina was nothing. They became bosses, those two guys. Sonny Black and Napolitano. I knew Nick Santora. The Carrazzo brothers. I mean, the bosses, these guys were nothing. They were not even made when I knew them. So here I am talking about real things about the mobsters of history, legend, and they attack me of being a crumb. They're attacking me of being fugazi, a bullshit artist. And what tells them, you know, there was somebody told me, don't judge the book as cover. Does that make sense? It's what's in the book, inside the book, what counts. So don't judge just the book cover. So and that's what it is with this podcasters. You know, they don't see the inside. They see only the laughing, the joking, make comedies. Try to this guy from 52 Topic. He tries to be like a Joe Pescopo. Changes his voice. You know, it makes fun of Sammy the Bull. It makes fun of a lot of guys that they call them out, and they people laughing and telling jokes. So that's what's going on. Okay, so this guy Provolone is one of them. Okay, I am unsubscribed. I am unsubscribed to Shorts. His voice is like nails on chalkboard to me, so I haven't seen it. Okay, yeah, he put it out Monday. He put them out just to get back to me that they're friends. And then today he put it out because I was coming on again, and he put out this 12 minutes video. Was part of from Monday, and part he put in just to put this clip about that Francesco Fedolino got arrested. The record, you know. Why didn't they put in the bread that time when I've been asking him? Because it shows that he was robbing what do you call drug dealers with the other guys to make money. That's what he was doing. Working in a coffee shop, and wanted to get involved on doing something criminal, and he was robbing the drug dealers. So he got busted. And then he wanted to get out of prison because he got busted. They made him plead guilty, and he plead guilty because, I think he said he was away for a couple of years. But the way the newspaper said in 2002 and in 2027 he came out, so he was in jail for 5 years. So for 5 years, he wanted to find a way to get out of prison. So when probably Joe Messino got picked up in 2004, before the trial came up, the shit hit the fan, then he testified. So he testified against Joe Messino. How many people testifying? Everybody testifying against Messino. But meanwhile, they gave this guy a pass because he testified. And they want to do that because then it shows that if you testify, you rat out your friends, you get out of prison. So that's why everybody turned rats. And that's what happened the year 2000. After Sammy the Bull, it was like, what is that game? They all fall apart, the tablets. What do you call it? Dominoes. And that's what happened. And who can you trust anybody today? And now they talk about this guy, They're talking about that the mafia is still alive with the Corazzo brothers. Uh, Ronnie One Arm just came out of prison. He's a consigliere in the Gambino, just to keep fulfilling the bullshit to their followers, and they believe them. So anyway, some numbers are changing over here. So people coming on, I don't know. Maybe the times I'm picking, you got Semi the Bull on, you got what's Dominic Cicali on, you got the other guy too, Melino doing show, you got what's his name, Michael Francese doing the shows. Everybody's done mother doing shows, so maybe it conflict when I'm coming on. So, but I'm gonna stick with this 6:30. What do you think? 6:30 is good for you, Carmela? Johnny, is 6:30 good for you? Because I'm looking to do Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. That's what I want to do. Those 3 nights. I'm gonna do it. And I'm gonna tell stories and we could talk and we'll see what happens. Some people may want to come on board. You stay long enough, people will join. Build it. Remember the movie Build It We Come? The baseball with what's his name? Oh man, I'm bad. Good actor. The baseball, the build the baseball field. Remember who was that? What was his name? Oh shit, I'm bad. I'm bad. I can't remember the names. I'm bad with names, but I only remember the people close to me. So now I'm not gonna forget Johnny. I'm not gonna forget Carmela. So because you're my friends and somebody that I'm gonna be talking to with. Um, okay. So 1 minute. Shows his voice like him now. Honestly, if OC wants to interview Frank, good for him. I know what you're saying, but I should mean nothing to you because you're doing something different, right? This is your story here, nobody else. Yes, 100%. Yes. And I'm Joe Piscopo. Yes, he tries to try to be comedian, that guy, Brett. I call him a penguin. And he can't get over that call because he does look like a penguin. And Francesco Fedolino looks like a face of a pig. If you look at him, I'm not making this up. So, and they're my enemies. That's it. I'm my enemy in the podcast. What do we do? There's no shooting here. We're just words, competition. It's like having a pizzeria and they have a pizzeria up the block. Same thing. So we're going to compete. So, okay. So the way I see it, what they do is what they do. What you do is what you do. I agree. Two completely different guys. They should leave you alone. YouTube is a huge place, big enough for everyone. You're right. I agree with you. But they apparently, I haven't mentioned in the beginning of the video, I haven't mentioned OZ, but I see that something is going on. So I just wanted to bring it out to you and Johnny and Carmela that something is wrong. I don't see because I've been seeing the people are watching my shorts, my watching my live stream. The videos are put up. They're going, oh yeah, people coming in and watching them, but I don't see why they don't come in. And like you say, maybe they don't want to get in the conflict of the disagreement. I don't know. Okay, so that's Camilla says that's the whole thing, Johnny. There's room for everyone to make money. I don't know why they bully. Make money. Yep. All right. Kevin Costner. Yes. Build it. We build it. They will come. That's right. Kevin Costner, good actor. Very good actor. I like him. Till today, I like him. All his movies are good. And Kevin Costner, you think whatever works best for you, Giacomo. You are building something. Rome was not built in one day. Uh, let me pick up the page. There's the arrow. Okay. Okay. Rome wasn't built in one day. Um, the whole the people will come eventually. Yes, I think so. I keep on talking to them. I keep on mentioning they see it, but I haven't seen not even one of them. Okay, we got a guy here just came in. Let's see what we got. Uh Something wrong. Okay. Mr. Sniff 20 you are in Port St. Lucie. Yeah, so Mr. Sniffle 20 you are in Port St. Lucie. Yeah, I am. Why? It's on my Facebook. I'll tell you where I am. Yeah, why? What's your point? Sleepy sees 26. What's your point? Okay, so they are just trying to get those people arrested. They never stop with their bullshit. You're right, Carmelo. That's what they do is bullshit, bullshit. They bullshit the people. They come up with funny comedy, making. They hate Dom Chicali. They hate him. They hate Sammy the Bull. They make fun of him too. Um, so I'm not the only guy they hate. So okay, now we got Tommy Stink 8278. What's going on here? Buenasera from North Jersey. Buenasera. Buenasera to you from North Jersey. Okay, so you spelled it Buena is in Spanish, and Seda is not Italian. So you're trying to say in Italian, it's a buonasera. So, okay. Welcome in. Thomas Thing, 8278. Okay. So then we have. Uh, okay. Philo Dream. That's right. That's what he built, Kevin Costner in the movie. And they came, all lined up. They strolled down. So let's hope it happens over here. But I'm going to come on. I'm going to talk. Today I did tell the story. I want to talk about John Gotti. I want to talk about the kind of guy he was, Joe Messino, But mostly I want to talk about me, how I came, I conquer, and I went, and I came back and I conquered again. And now I'm trying to do the same thing. So we see what happens. Time will tell. I got I got time now to spare. I don't know no more pizzerias. I don't know no more not to do anything. I got now is trying to build a following, try to tell the story the way it really was in the 70s with all the guys that were nothing. It became bosses, mafia bosses. And by the 90s was all over. The commission was destroyed. So there was no more. Let me read this. Tommy Gates. Okay. Let me see. What does it say? I don't know how to spell. It's all right. Me too. Hey, tell me, I don't know how to spell either, but you could say, talk to me in English because I need to learn English. Uh, I'm in Port St. Lucie too, living aloud. So what? That's right. I don't know. He knows where we are. Um, Genie. What kind of language is that? Genie. What kind of language is that? What language is that? That's not English. Then we got Sarah McGoldie Y 90 said, do you know a Michael Schiraldi? Out of him under Bill Bonanno? Schiraldi? Uh, I don't know. As Francesco Ferdolino, he grew up with the son, Francesco Grimaldi, Michael Grimaldi. Okay. Tom is my brother from another mother. Tom is my brother from another mother. Okay, that's a good one, Carmelo. Anyway, so we got a few people stopping by, and maybe they should come in and make some kind of remarks. At least we know they're live. There's people watching, so I can see over here. My page. I'm gonna look over here. If I can't believe it that the viewers are very low tonight. I don't know why, but the Monday night viewers is good. I'm happy with it. The show we did on Monday. So we got to. Oh yeah, tonight is very low. We only got 3 likes. So I don't know. Something's going. Okay, so we got. Okay, that's it. So anyway, Camilla and Johnny, we're gonna do this again Monday night. I mean, on Friday night. Yeah, I'm gonna come back on at 6:30, and then that's it. It will be 3 night show that I did, and we'll see what takes. It's always tomorrow is a new day, right? What was the movie with the little girl? What was it? I'm not talking about God Want to Win. Tomorrow is another day. The sun will come out tomorrow. that's what that's what I'm trying to say. The sun will come out tomorrow. So anyway, Johnny and Camilla, salute, Shentan. We did an hour and 43 minutes by the time I get out. So cheers and stay healthy. And we'll do it again Friday night. Cheers. Salute. Okay, Johnny, stato bene. Carmelo, you speak Italian? Do you know any words Italian besides curses? Carmelo, do you know any Italian words? Do you say buongiorno, ciao, bello? Carmelo, do you know any Italian words? Okay. Anyway, we will see you on Wednesday. And